Hey guys, what is up? My name is Megan and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. I hope you guys are doing well and staying safe, and welcome to today's video, which is a video discussing my updated middle grade TBR. If you don't know me, hello, my name is Megan and I am a 28-year-old Canadian who is an avid reader of middle grade books, and I love talking about middle grade. It is a lot of what this channel is about. If you don't know what middle grade is, it is the age range in books that comes before young adult novels. So it's usually from like 8 to 14 years old is the stretch. Usually 9 to 12 or 13 is where we find middle grade the most. I primarily read middle grade fantasy, but I also enjoy the occasional contemporary and thrillers. So that is most of what is on my TBR. I am making this video as a reference, obviously, because you guys like to know what I'm reading, what's on my shelves. I have made this video once in the past, hence why I'm saying this is an updated version. I'll leave that in the cards and description, as well as a video essay discussing why I choose to read middle grade as an adult, and I have a middle grade playlist which you can refer to as well if you would so enjoy. I will be talking about the middle grade series first, and then moving on to books that I either only own one book in a series or are standalones. I will have timestamps probably down below so you can navigate as you please. Let's hop on in. The series aren't in any order, and I will not be going into depth with all these books because we would be here for hours, which I don't think anybody wants. So let's go. The first books I have on my TBR are from the Green Wild series. I have books 2 and 3. I have read book 1 this year, and this is a middle grade fantasy series about a young girl whose mother goes missing. She goes on a journey to find her, and she ends up stumbling upon Green Wild, which is a magical botanical world. There is also like a talking cat in here. It's a really great time. So I have books 2 and 3 to read. I also have books 1 and 2 in the Lockwood & Co. series. I have technically read book 1, but I need a refresh before jumping back into the remainder of the series. This is a very well-known middle grade series. It was put as a TV show on Netflix. It is a kind of paranormal mystery middle grade, and I think it's set in the past, and it's all set in London. The vibes are really like creepy and fun, and it is a great middle grade mystery series. Again, need a refresher, but it is a very well-known series. We then have Wood Witch and Sea Witch that was a tongue twister. Wood Witch and Sea Witch, which are books 2 and 3 in the Hedge Witch series. I am currently reading book 1 of this. This is a middle grade fantasy series following a young girl who becomes a witch. In the first book, she kind of learns about her family history and her powers, and then we go on multiple different adventures. There are more books coming out in this series, and I will be collecting them as we go along. Book 4 releases later this year. I have The Dark Refrain by Jessica Corey, which is book 3 in the Mistwick School of Musicraft. I have talked about this series a lot. It is one of my top 6 middle grade series of all time, which I do have a video for. It is about this young girl who goes to a magical school where music is magic, and so they compose all of these spells to use, and it is a great combination of music and magic. It's fantastic, great magic school vibes. Easy recommendation. I do need to get to book 3. I have the last 3 books in the Adventures on Train series, which are Danger at Dead Man's Pass, Sabotage on the Solar Express, and The Arctic Railway Assassin, which are books 3 through 6. And once I'm done these 3, I am done with the series. The Adventures on Train series is another middle grade staple, and it is literally about different mysteries that are set on different trains, and we follow our main character Hal and his uncle as they go and explore these trains and solve all of these mysteries. We also have book 2 in the Isaac Turner Investigates, which is The Forbidden Atlas. This is by Sam Sedgman, one of the co-authors of the Adventures on Train series. This is another kind of mystery, and it has to do with time. It's incredible. I did really enjoy my self with the first book. It wasn't my favorite, but the more I sit on it, the more I realize I did enjoy it. So I did get book 2 to continue on with the series. I don't know how many books there will be in this one. We then have the Arcspire series by Jamie Littler, who is the author of the Frostheart series, which we have Arcspire book 1 and Arcspire the Order of Misfits book 3 is coming out in July, so I need to catch up with this series. I genuinely don't really remember what it is about, but I know there are arcanists who have like these powers, and then relics explode, things happen. It is very typical middle grade fantasy, and I'm so here for it. We then have The Last Firefox and The First Shadow Dragon, which are companion novels, and this is about the last Firefox and how this young boy becomes its guardian, and then we have a companion novel to that, which I don't really know how it ties in, but those are the stories. I've had these on my shelves for a while, so they need to get read, but they are definitely still on here. I then have book 2 in the Dragon Realm series, which is Dragon Legend by Katie and Kevin Sang. I read the first book in the series, really enjoyed it. Everything that has to do with dragons is always a win for me, so I went ahead and picked up book 2. And I also picked up the first 2 books in the companion series because they were the Waterstones exclusive editions. So this is a spin-off series called Dragon Force, and within that one we have Infinity's Secret as well as Devour's Attack. I then have some books in the Keeper of the Lost City series, which is often compared to Harry Potter. It is about this young girl named Sophie who learns that she's an elf with all these magical powers, and so she is brought to this different kind of world, and it's kind of a chosen one story. Things go from there. I'm currently in the middle of book 2, which is Exile. I also have book 3, which is Everblaze, book 4, which is Never Seen, book 5, which is Lodestar, and then book 6, which is Nightfall. These are really chunky middle grade books, and it's a long series. Like, there are more books than this. There's technically supposed to be 10. Book 10 is going to release in 2026 if I'm not mistaken, and there's also some like 0.5 books in there, so it is a full commitment. One I'm willing to make, but I'm doing very slowly. I then have books 2 and 3 in the Fireborn series, which I'm very frustrated to say I still haven't finished because I picked up Fireborn several years ago. I love that book, but I still haven't picked up the remainder of the series, so it's definitely a priority. Fireborn is a cold setting, sort of Viking inspired middle grade about this young girl named 12 who ends up having to go on this kind of quest to find another girl in her community. I really liked the vibes, the characters, the setting, all of it. I think it's very unique, and I haven't read a lot of middle grade books like this one, but I haven't counting you on with a series, clearly. We also have Peregrine and the Cosmic Realm and Peregrine and the Mask of Chaos by Ash Bond. This is a middle grade fantasy series that is kind of like a la Percy Jackson, where there are, like, it's set in Olympus, there are gods, malfunctions within this world that is filled with magic, but it's obviously its own story. I have started Peregrine Quinn, never finished it, but I'm very intrigued. Like, I loved what I read. I don't know what is happening. It kind of reminds me of when I started Skandar and put it down, and then it ended up being my favorite book of all times. So that's kind of where we're at with this, but I'm very hopeful. Book 2 came out I think in April, so I'm not too far behind. I also have Silverborn, which is book 4 in the Nevermore series. I'm technically 100 pages into this, but because it's not significant progress, I'm still going to add it to my TBR. It came out earlier this year. I know everybody is super excited for Silverborn, so yay! Another book which should get off my TBR this month is Skandar and the Skeleton Curse, which is book 4 in the Skandar series. Skandar is about this young boy named Skandar who ends up being a unicorn rider and learning what it is to bond with a unicorn and develop powers. He goes to this kind of magic school set on an island. I talk about Skandar a lot. Book 5 is coming out this year, which is the final book in this series, and I could not be more excited. It is definitely my favorite middle grade series of all time, so I need to keep going with book 4, but as I said, before the end of July, it should be off my TBR. We have Mia and the Traitor of Nubis, which is book 2 in the Mia and the Lightcaster series. This is another series that I discovered earlier in 2025, and it follows a young girl named Mia who has this kind of chosen one trope mission to save her parents in the first book, and by doing so she discovers her magic, bonds with these beautiful animals, and it's just an incredible journey. I love this series so far, so I have book 2 to continue on. Similarly to the situation with Mia, I also have the Memory Thieves, which is the second book in the Conjure series by Danielle Clayton, which is a magic school set in the clouds that has the conjurers and marvelers, and there's a lot of discussions on like current day politics, discrimination, equity, and it has the perfect dose of magic and whimsy. So yeah. I also have Ember Spark and the Frost Phoenix by Abby Elphinstone, which is the second book in the Ember Spark series about this young girl who has a magical gift and works as a veterinary assistant for magical creatures to heal them in a world that doesn't really know magical creatures exist. These are shorter, younger middle grade books, and I really enjoyed my time with the first one. I have books 4, 5, 6, and 7 in the Percy Jackson series. This year I am doing a year of Rick Riordan along, where I'm reading a book by Rick Riordan in hopes to have finished both the Percy Jackson series as well as the Heroes of Olympus before the end of 2025. So currently those are the books I have left. So Percy Jackson and the Battle of the Labyrinth, Percy Jackson and the Last Olympian, and then this kind of secondary series that continues with Percy Jackson. We have Percy Jackson and the Chalice of Gods, and Percy Jackson and the Wrath of the Triple Goddess. And then, as I mentioned, we have the entirety of the Heroes of Olympus series. So we have The Lost Hero, The Son of Neptune, The Mark of Athena, The House of Hades, as well as The Blood of Olympus. Sticking with Rick Riordan, I also have the first 3 books in the Trials of Apollo series, which are The Trials of Apollo, The Trials of Apollo has The Hidden Oracle, The Dark Prophecy, as well as The Burning Maze. And the last series I have with multiple books before getting into the standalone and books I only have 1 book in a series for is yet again by Rick Riordan with the Magnus Chase series. So we have Magnus Chase, The Sword of Summer, The Hammer of Thor, and The Ship of the Dead. Obviously, I still have some books from Rick Riordan that I need to get, especially in the Trials of Apollo series, but that is what I own currently that needs to be read. Moving into standalones or first books in a series, we have Saving Fable by Scott Wrighton, which is the author of The Last Dragon on Mars. One of my favorite books of this year. This is the first in a series, and it's about bookish characters coming to life-ish, about a character in waiting. It just reminds me of all the things I love in like Pages & Co. and all those series that I really love, with the writing out of an author I know I absolutely adore, given how I felt about The Last Dragon on Mars. We have The Last Shadow Warrior, which is a Viking middle grade inspired story. Beneath the Swirling Sky, which again is similar to Pages & Co. in the sense that we have characters, but instead of traveling into books, they travel into different paintings. I was supposed to buddy read this, but then fell off the bandwagon. I apologize again, but you see I had all the good intentions with my little post-its, but unfortunately it fell through. And then I have The Ice Apprentices by MJ Leonard, who is one of the co-authors of the Adventures on Train series. This is a like cold setting set in December kind of fantasy mystery. I also have Dragonborn, which I don't know, I think this is the first book in a series. I had thrifted this one because it has to do with dragons. I don't know much more than that, but yeah, I do think it is a series, and obviously it has dragons and wizards, I believe. We have The Ice Apprentices by Jacob North, which is another cold setting inspired middle grade. I don't know if this is a series or not, but it is one of my most anticipated for the year, so I really need to get to it. We have The Vanquishers by Kaylin Barron, which is a vampire middle grade kind of spooky vibes mystery, I think, with some fantastical elements as per the vampires. I have The Unexpected Tales of Bastien Bolive. This is the first in a middle grade series that is historical, I believe, and it is a mystery. We have The Blackthorn Key by Kevin Sands, which is another middle grade mystery series. This is by a Canadian author. It is a well-known middle grade series. It's a little bit older, but I know it was very much beloved, so I'm excited to get into this one eventually. We have The Forgotten Five, Map of Flames, which again is the first in a middle grade fantasy series, and it's kind of like The Descendants inspired, where it's about like the children of 8 supernatural criminals and their faith. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm excited about the prospect of this series. We have The Polar Bear Explorers Club, which is about an explorers club, and I think our main female character is trying to incorporate herself in this club, but it's supposed to be like a boys only situation, I believe, and then she ends up joining on this adventure somehow. This is again the first in a series. Then we have Crookhaven, The School for Thieves, which is a middle grade fantasy series about a school for thieves. Curse of the Phoenix by M.A. Carter, which is, I picked this one up because it reminded me of Scandar. It has to do with dragons, unicorns, and fairies, and it was recommended to me a lot on like online platforms like Storygraph and those things, as like if you like the books I was reading, you'd probably enjoy this one. Then we have Wilder Than Midnight and Swifter Than Starlight by Carrie Burnell. These are two kind of like fairy tale inspired stories by the same author, but I don't think that they interconnect somehow, but these have also been on my TBR for a really long time, and I need to either read them or unhaul them, but I like fairy tale-esque vibes probably for the fall. And then another anticipated book that I never got around to reading is Paper Dragons, The Fight for the Hidden Realm, which is the first in a middle grade fantasy series. Book 2 comes out this year, and I think it's like a water school or something. Don't quote me on that, but it sounds absolutely thrilling. It's beautiful. It's definitely up there in my priority. I have The Secret of Golden Island by Natasha Farrand. I recently read one of her other books, absolutely adore them. These are like contemporary, more emotional middle grade books. The other one I read was The Rescue of Ravenwood. It had themes of like the environment, and they are stunning and beautifully emotional stories. Read, Scream, Repeat, which is an anthology of short stories that are spooky based, which I need to read for Halloween, but I've been saying that for years. We have A Christmas Story, which is The Miracle of on Ebenezer Street by Catherine Doyle. The Last Map Maker, which I feel like is one that has been requested that I read from a lot of you guys, saying that like you guys have really enjoyed this, and I probably will. I love boat stories, pirate stories, all those kinds of books, so I think this is right up my alley. We have Firefly Summer by Morgan Matson, who is a very well-known young adult author. I think this might be her first foray into middle grade, but I'm not sure. This is a contemporary, one of the few I have on my TBR. Excited to get to it. Should probably get to it this summer, actually. Then we have Inkheart by Cornelia Funk. This is what I'm assuming inspired Pages & Co. It's about like reading and going into books and that kind of vibe. I still have not read this. I'm very afraid because Inkheart has a very mixed fan base. Some people love it, some people really don't love Inkheart. A lot of people I've seen recently have DNF'd this series, so I'm kind of worried because my hope was to absolutely devour this. We have The Beanstalk Murders by A.J. Bell, which is a middle grade fantasy, which I'm assuming is also a mystery from the title. If there's a murder, you know. Could not tell you more. Then we have Kelsey Murphy and the Academy for Unbreakable Arts. So this is the first in a middle grade fantasy series that I believe is academia based with some magic sprinkled in there. And then we have Misadventures in Ghost Hunting by Melissa Yu, which is a spooky middle grade with some paranormal elements, which I'm gonna love for spooky time. We then have The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This is a fan favorite middle grade book that I feel like even people who don't read middle grade have read. I think it's about this witch who usually get offerings of children or something like that, and then she ends up keeping the one baby, and then magic is involved. I don't really know anything about this, so like ignore my terrible synopses. It's just, it was so well beloved. It won awards. Everybody has loved this, so I'm assuming at one point I need to pick this up, and I had found this at a thrift store, so it was perfect. Yell at me to read this, and I probably will. And then we have A Taste of Magic by JL, which I started, and honestly, I need to pick it back up. I'm putting this back on my TBR because I feel like I need a refresh of this story, but it is obviously like magical and baking put all together, and those are my two of my favorite things combined in a story. Immaculate. Next on my list is The Kingdom Beyond the Sea by Zora Nabi, which is again middle grade fantasy, as you can have guessed. We have The Stormkeeper's Island by Catherine Doyle, which I think is both magical and mystery combined. This is the first in a series. I've heard mixed things about this one. And then we have some Sophie Anderson, which we have The Girl Who Speaks Bear and The Thief Who Sang Storms, both of which, I say this all the time, I'm very much looking forward to reading. These are kind of like fairy tale retellings and just like folklore inspired. I love Sophie Anderson. I loved, what is the title of the one with the castle? Love that story. Is it on my shelves? I don't remember if I still own it, but I did really enjoy that, so I'm looking forward to more of her works. I also have Dream Slinger by Gracie Kim, which is again one of my most anticipated books of 2025. This is a combination of Amari and the Night Brothers as well as Pokemon. We have Deep Dark by Zora Nabi, the same author as The Kingdom Beyond the Sea. Over the Sea, I butcher that title all the time. This is a Cassie Thorne mystery, so this is a mystery novel, and it is, I believe, the first in a series. We have The Dragon's Apprentice by James Riley, who is the author of the Story Thieves series. This is also going to be a middle grade fantasy series. We have Alice Eclairs by Extraordinaire, A Recipe for Trouble, which is a middle grade mystery. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Adventures on Train series. It's set in the 1930s. The Girl Who Dreamed in Magic by Maria Kuzniar, which is an author that has been very much more of a miss for me. I was going to say hit or miss, but as of now it's only been a miss. But it is like Viking cold setting inspired, which is why I wanted to give this one a chance, because I do love those kinds of settings in middle grade. And we have Minerva Keen's Detective Club by James Patterson, as well as another author. I don't usually read James Patterson, but this is a middle grade mystery, and it very much intrigued me. I have Juniper's Christmas by Ian Colfer, who I know this author. What is he? I know, oh, the Artemis Fowl series. That's what I was looking for. This is a Christmas story. We have another recently acquired book, which is The Mythmakers by Tamsin Merchant. This is like Arthurian legend inspired, which very excited to read for the first time from this author, and I just had to show. Look how gorgeous this is. Beautiful book. Recent release from a very beloved middle grade author. We have The Unicorn Legacy Tangled Magic, which is, I think, a academia. It has to do with unicorns magical story. That was a bad pitch. We have The Powers, which is again the first in a middle grade fantasy series about two sisters. The Liars Society, which is the first in a upper middle grade series that is very reminiscent of the vibes of like Jennifer Lynn Barnes, but it's different. And again, first in a mystery series that feels like I started this book. I couldn't finish it right away. I put it down and I'm going to go back to it, but it has a very upper YA writing style. Definitely not for like a 9-year-old. I would say upper did I say upper YA? I meant upper middle grade to early YA. We have Vivian Van Tassel and the Secret of Midnight Lake, which again, say it with me, middle grade fantasy. We're down to the last stacks. Promise. We have the Daggers of Ire, which is a witchy middle grade story, I believe, a Bruja story. The Troubled Girls of Dragomir Academy, which is a standalone middle grade fantasy that has to do with a magical academy. Leia and the Fire Goddess, which is a middle grade that I got like recommended from a recommendations video. It has to do with a part Hawaiian main character, which I thought was really interesting, and it's another that is definitely on my list of priorities. We have Rise of the Dragons by Angie Sage. This is a dragon-inspired series, and every book in the series is written by a different author, and I want to read book 2 really bad because it's Jessica Corey, but I need to get through book 1, which I'm assuming will be great, but I know nothing about Angie Sage, but that is the reason for this one. Wilder Lore, The Accidental Apprentice by Amanda Foody. This is another highly recommended book from you guys. I love Amanda Foody, so I'm excited to get into her middle grade stories. Spell Sweeper, which is by Lee Edward Foody. This is really interesting. It's about a main character. It's kind of like a flip on the Chosen One, where she is definitely not the Chosen One. She is in this magical school, but is not necessarily there as like a Chosen One student. She's there to pick up after people who do magic, because in this world magic leaves this kind of like messy residue. This is another book I sampled. I read a few chapters and I think I'm going to love. We have Medusa by Catherine Marsh, which is a middle grade fantasy, obviously like Greek inspired. And then two of my most anticipated books, we have Vanya and the Wild Hunt, which I've been recently told by a few of you guys that you really enjoyed. This is in my like 15 for 2025, I believe. Not 100% sure, but I know it's on one of my lists. If not, it's for the Kayla from Books and Lala's Buzzword Challenge. And the last book on my stack is Accidental Demons by Claire Edge, which is recommended in the same video as Leia and the Fire Goddess. So I also got this book because I thought it sounded incredible when it was pitched. So loved that recommendation video. Those are all the books on my middle grade TBR. I think it must be around 100 books, which is insane. But honestly, I read middle grade a ton. I've already read like 30 to 40 middle grade books this year. It is what I consume most. They are great to get through. I love them so much. And again, I'm not making this video as a like look at me with all my fancy books. Most of them I got used or at a discounted rate. I can't afford to buy all new books all the time, but I do love putting my money towards supporting middle grade authors when I can. And again, the aim of this video is to show you what is on my TBR, to kind of inspire you guys and kind of show you what kind of books exist. And for you guys to let me know in the comments what you want me to prioritize. It would be really nice if you left me a comment of like what you want me to read first, what you want me to vlog or review for you guys. This is where I get my inspiration for all my middle grade videos. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon with another video. Bye guys, happy reading.